Brandon Nimmo with us here on set in Port St. Lucie. Jerry Blevins along as well. So as I mentioned a moment ago, you hit 24 home runs a season ago. Is that now a new part of your game going forward? Is that something that you're going to try and do as you go forward here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think last year we, and even the year before, we kind of pinpointed that was inside of me, that we knew there was more that we could tap into. And so we just spent a couple of years trying to clean up the mechanics a little bit, and maybe focus on, getting the right launch angle a little bit better. But I was hitting the ball hard enough to do more damage. And so they just wanted the most out of myself, just like I do. So we ended up making a few adjustments that ended up translating into a little more power. I hope it sticks around, but this game is a game of adjustments.
You talked about you're a student of the game, and that's always been apparent. You've done a really excellent job from the jump. I remember when you would first get called up, you're a polished approach guy. You never changed what you were doing. Pinch hitting is one of the hardest things to do in all of sports.
Yeah.
And you came in right off the bat. I was so impressed with that.
Thank you.
You've also been able to adapt. This year you might be asked to do a little bit more adapting, from moving from steady center field to be left and center, and also maybe not just only batting leadoff, but you might be with that power surge, but might be asked to bat towards the middle of the lineup.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you have done with those possibility of adjustments to be made?
Yeah, I think it's just continuing to try and use the information around us, so all the analytics that we get, to be prepared for the situations, both on the defense and in runner and scoring position situations, and all the situations that might come up with being in the middle of the lineup. And then also pulling on guys that, we're very fortunate. One of our hitting coaches, Eric Chavez, he was an amazing hitter, and hit a lot of runs in, have batted a lot of runs in, and I get to pull on him, and I get to pull on a lot of Francisco, Pete, just guys that do it really well. And so I get to pull on those guys and get to learn from them. And I think you hit the nail on the head. It's just all about trying to be a sponge and not thinking that you have it all figured out, but being willing to learn, and being willing to continue to be a student of the game, and know that you have places that you can be better.
I do want to ask you about the move to left field. So when Starling Marte came here, you were pretty adamant, I want to play center field.
Yep.
Now Harrison Bader's here. What's the change in mindset that you're like, okay, I'll go to left?
Yeah, I think it's just this point in the career that I'm at where I'm just like, what, I want to win a World Series, and if David thinks that's going to help us win a World Series, then I was all for it. And so for me, I think it's just this point in the career that I'm at that I want to win a World Series, however that's going to come to us. David really, really believes in defense, man.
Yep.
He preaches on it, and I think that's awesome. I agree with it, because the park that we play at in Citi Field tends to be more of a pitcher's ballpark.
Right.
And so we're going to need to win one-run ball games. In order to do that, you're going to need to pitch well, and you're going to need to play defense well. So, I think, I was very open to it, just because I thought, okay, well, if you bring one of those guys, then, I might be moving from center field, but we're going to have an unbelievable outfield. Like, we're going to cover some serious ground and actually have a leg up on people. And so, I think it's really good, and I'm excited to see what we have this spring from the guys that are playing.
The last thing I wanted to ask you from my standpoint is, you talked about where you are in your career.
Yeah.
You're now one of the leaders of this team, not just because of how good you've been on the field, or your contract, but because you've been here for so long. There's things that you've learned. For some of these young guys that you're going to have to lean on, they're so green that they might not know what questions to ask. So as a leader, what are some of the things you can show them, or be forceful and talk to them about? They might face adversity. What are some of the things that you pointed out?
I think first and foremost, you stick with what got you there. And so, if you've had success, in order to get to the big leagues, well, then you stick with that until it doesn't work anymore. And then, Jerry, you and I both know that once you start having success, everybody's going to try and figure out how to get you out, or how to hit you, whatever it may be. And so, that's something that I had to go through as well. And so just leading them to the right information and the right questions to ask, like you pointed out. But that's part of my job is to, give them confidence. Like, hey, you got here for a reason. Go play, go have fun, and let's do that. But when it starts not working for a little bit, okay, like let's start realizing, okay, is there something that I could be better at?
All right, let's finish on this one right here. last year did not go as you guys hoped it was going to go.
Yeah.
What's going to be different this year?
Going to be different this year? Well, obviously, there's a little bit different buzz around us this year.
Okay.
And so, I think the guys are going to try and handle their business the same way. You try and take care of the little things each and every day. We're going to try and be accountable, have each other's backs. And, honestly, I'm very pleased with the depth that we have in our team.
Right.
And we have some guys that have a chip on their shoulders that they want to come back and they want to prove something to this New York fan base, and we want to bring a World Series back to the Mets, and so it's a great.
That sounds nice, by the way.
Yeah, it's a great it's a great opportunity we have in front of us. I know we're all for it, right? Every Mets fan wants it. We want it, and I know the front office wants it. I know Steven and Alex want it, and so we're going to try and take care of the little things, and we're going to try and go surprise some people this year.
That would be great, Brandon. Great to visit with you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yep, thank you.